welcome to my channel. I'm Anne and today I'm bringing you a book haul. So this is my first book haul of 2024, which is pretty exciting. I didn't really buy a lot of books until I went on a bit of a buying spree yesterday because things were on sale. But I want to talk about the ebooks that I've gotten, both ARCs and bought, and I also want to go through the physical books that I've added to my shelves. So the first book that I want to talk about is This Mortal Coil by Emily Suvada. I have seen quite a few years ago there was a big hype around this series and I found it at the secondhand bookshop, so I thought I'd pick it up because it is one that I have been really interested in. What I know is it's a dystopian and I think it may be zombies, I'm not 100% sure. When a lone soldier, Cole, arrives with the news of Lachlan Agatha's death, all hope seems lost for Katerina. Her father was the world's leading geneticist and humanity's best hope of beating a devastating virus. So that's all I really know about it. That's all I want to read from the back and I'm really intrigued by it. The next one that I want to talk about is Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. Mark Lawrence is a very well-known and beloved fantasy author and I know that this is one of his, I think might be his debut, but this is a dark fantasy following a privileged royal child raised by a loving mother. Jorg Ancrath has become the Prince of Thorns, a charming, immoral boy leading a grim band of outlaws in a series of raids and atrocities. So very grim, dark, morally grey character, and I'm very interested in reading this. I do own his other Red Sister series. I own the first one in that too, and I still haven't read any of his writing, but I'm really interested and I do tend to pick them up when they come about in the bookshop. Next one that I want to talk about is Humility by Brooklyn Course. This is a dark contemporary retelling. It is the first in the Fritchie's Fairy Tales book 1. This is an ARC that I received from the author, so thank you, Brooklyn. I really appreciate you sending it to me. I'm sorry that I haven't read and reviewed it yet, but I will be getting to it very soon. So this is In a tale as old as time, a mafia princess fell in love with the wrong boy, or in my case, boys. I am Jasmine Isabel Falcone, and I grew up knowing that I needed to be on my guard from the snakes around me. But even knowing that, I still fell in love with Angelo Esposito and Dario Lombardi. Now at 23, I'm being forced into an arranged marriage where I'm expected to fulfill my duties as a wife and mother, but I dream of building something different and crave freedom from the shackles of the patriarchy. So yeah, it's very interesting. I am excited to read it, and thank you again to the author for sending me the ARC. The second one is Blaze by Cara Clare. This is the Phoenix Prophecy book 2, so this is another ARC that I received a long time ago, but I only found it in my emails a while ago, so I'm sorry that I didn't review it. But I gave the first book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and the first book is about the Anti-Magic Alliance. I grew up believing I was human. My entire town hated supers, but I've always been drawn to them, especially mages. On the night of my anti-magic ex finally took his cruelty too far and tried to kill me, my powers awakened. I burned his apartment to the ground and left him in the flames. But now I'm on the run, hiding out in a town called Phoenix Falls, a town full of magic, a town where 4 super hot mages believe I'm the key to the prophecy that will stop the underworld from rising. I read book 1 many years ago. I really enjoyed it, and I only came across book 2 a little while ago in my emails, so I will be adding that to my TBR and reading that and continuing with the series, but I will have to reread book 1 before then. The next one is The Reaper of Chaos by C.D. Britt. So this is a spin-off series from her original series, the Reign of Goddesses series. That's all I know. I haven't read that, so I think I might need to start there before I get into this one. This is another ARC that I received and had no idea that I received it. I just found it in my emails. But the synopsis says, she loves death, he is death. Thanatos took a 50-year vacation from his duties as death, psychopomp of the underworld. Returning to Halcyon, he meets Lyra, a professor of thanatology with the ability to see souls, and him. Intrigued, he finds himself obsessed with learning about the woman who studies and sees death. As he finds himself growing closer to the woman who has him fascinated for the first time in centuries, a devastating problem arises in both the mortal world and the underworld. People are no longer dying. Thanatos and Lyra now have a choice to make, each other or death itself. So that sounds interesting. It is on my TBR, and I will maybe read the first series before I read this one because it is recommended by the author to read that one. Then we have The River Queen by T.M. Mayfield. So this is when unexpectedly faced with running the kingdom alone, Queen Adara of the Rivendell Mermaids quickly finds herself facing a foe she never expected to see again. Mermaids fantasy sounds pretty fun, and I'm excited to get into that one. Then we have Captured by the Cupid by Emily Shore. I have read this one and I really enjoyed it. This is about a girl who ends up getting captured by the Cupid, and it is their story of falling in love and figuring out what's happening and why Cupid's first wife is in a coma and hasn't woken up for 100 years. It's great. I had a great time with it. I read it, really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to reading more from this series because I know each series is a monster romance, but it's more of a standalone. But with this one, we actually see how it connects to one of our other series, which I'm really excited about. Then we have is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This is about Anastasia and Nate. Anastasia is a figure skater and Nate is a hockey player, one of the captains of the hockey team, I think, and they end up in this sort of disagreement because they end up having to share the ice. And when Anastasia's partner ends up getting injured for their competition that's coming up, she has to begrudgingly ask Nate to be her partner because he is the only one who can kind of step up to the plate. And this is a smutty contemporary romance, and don't let the cover fool you. I've heard that this is spicy. I've seen some screenshots and pictures of some of the pages, and it gets spicy. Then we also have Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This is a sequel, or in the Maple Hill series, I think. And this is about Russ and Aurora. They cross paths at a college party. A trick game results in a passionate one-night stand. Never one to overstay her welcome. She slips away. Then they bump into each other on a summer camp as summer camp counselors, and they start to end up in a relationship. So yeah, I'm excited about this one too. I've heard so many great things about both Icebreaker and Wildfire that I'm pretty excited to get into it. Next one that I want to talk about is The Returned by Jason Mott. This is one that I've not heard of before, but I picked it up at the bookshop, found that it was really intriguing, read the synopsis, thought it was really intriguing, so I picked it up. It was pretty cheap. I think it was only like $8 or something. So Lucille Hargrave's son Jacob has been dead for over 40 years. Now he's standing on her doorstep, still 8 years old, still looking for her to welcome him with open arms. Doesn't that sound really interesting? Like, what the heck is happening? Then, before I forget, because I haven't added it to my spreadsheet because I keep forgetting, we have the special edition of Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I haven't read Fourth Wing. I have the special edition of Fourth Wing as well, but I actually haven't read Fourth Wing, so I don't even know if I'm going to like this, but I didn't want to pass up getting the special edition of Book 2 if I enjoyed Book 1. So this series, from what I know, is about Violet, and she has always been told, and she's been preparing to become a scribe in the scribe quadrant, but then her mother decides that she is going to become a dragon rider, even though it is dangerous because she has a chronic illness, I think, from what I'm aware, and we have an enemies to lovers type scenario. That's literally all I know. I know it was taken by storm last year, and it was one of BookTube's favorite books of 2023, so I know that everyone loves it. There is quite a few people who don't like it, which is interesting, but I'm excited to get into it. Then we have Ancillary Justice and Ancillary Sword by Anne Leckie. So this is Book 1 and Book 2 in the, I don't know what it is called. No idea what series this is called, but this is a sci-fi series. The Imperial Break series, maybe. So this is about Breck, and she is drawing closer to completing her quest. Breck is both more than what she seems and less than she was. Years ago, she was the Justice of Tauren, a colossal starship, and an artificial intelligence controlling thousands of soldiers in the service of the Rack, the empire that conquered the galaxy. of treachery has ripped it all away, leaving her with only one fragile human body. But that might just be enough to take revenge against those who destroy her. So really, really interesting. I've heard a lot about this. This is on one of the videos that I'm working on, where it's highly regarded in the sci-fi and fantasy genre. And I know that Regan from Peruse Project has currently been reading this and actually really enjoying this series. So I'm excited. The next one that we have is Capturing the Devil by Kerri Maniscalco. So this is book 4 in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. I don't own book 1, 2 or 3, but I have read them on audio, and the only thing is that there is no audiobook that I've found for book 4. So I bought the physical book so I can finally finish this series this year, because it is one of my priority series. This is set in the 1800s, and in the first one we're following Audrey Rose, and she is going against her father's wishes and also society's wishes, and she wants to become a forensic pathologist, and she is working with her uncle to also help try and solve the murders that has been caused by Jack the Ripper, and it's really, really interesting. So in this one, obviously it's gone on through the series. I don't really know what happens in this one, but I've read book 1 and book 2, and I really, really enjoyed them so far. So I'm going to be reading book 3 and then going into this one, and yeah, I'm excited. Then we have Dark Devotion. So this is book 2 in this is book 1.5 of the Blackmore University series, where we're following our main character. We're following one of the side characters from book 1, Christine, and her dark taboo romance with her stepfather and professor at school. I read book 1, Cruel Intentions, and I had a great time. Book 1.5 is kind of setting up the relationship between Christine and Nicola, and it's a very, very short novella, prequel, and maybe even a short story you could call it. It's like 32 pages, and it's just explaining who they are to each other, and kind of leading you into book 2, which is also a book that I got from the author, which is a Dark Obsession, and this is following, it's a full-length novel of Christine and Nicola story, and how they go about their love story. So yeah, I am excited. I really enjoyed book 1, and I'm very excited to carry on and see how this rest of the series goes on. Then we have a full trilogy, which is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Good Girl, Bad Blood, and As Good as Dead. I read these on audio a couple of years ago, and I had such a great time with them, and I really, really enjoyed it. This is by Holly Jackson, and I just wanted to own them physically so I can reread them whenever I want. But this is following a girl named Pip, and she is obsessed with true crime. She decides for the big project that she has to do at the end of the year that she is going to investigate a murder that happened in their town from a girl from her school, and where the girl's boyfriend was accused of her murder. And Pip is investigating it, and she doesn't believe that the person who is has been blamed for it is to blame for it. So she is investigating, and she kind of creates this podcast, and it's so good. I had such a great time with it, and as the series goes on, it gets so much darker and so much more gritty, and I had such a great time with it. I know it's a well-loved series, and I'm excited to own it physically and reread it whenever I want. In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland. This is a second book by A.M. Strickland that I own now, and I haven't read it, but this is about this is a fantasy. It is where we are Thanopoulos. Magic is rare and closely controlled. Those blessed or cursed with power are kept under constant guard, assigned to undead spirits who watch their every move. Ever since her father died to save her from this fate, Rovin has kept her magic a closely guarded secret, until an accident exposes her powers for the world to see, and her tenuous freedom comes crashing to the end. So I'm pretty sure this is sapphic, or there might be a poly relationship in this from what I'm aware of, because I know A.M. Strickland tends to write quite LGBTQIA plus friendly and stories, and I'm excited. Then we have Next book is Only a Monster by Vanessa Len. This is a YA fantasy, I'm pretty sure. And this is about a family who has secrets. But the summer Joan Shang Hunt goes to stay with her gran in London. She learns hers is bigger than most. The Hunts are one of the 12 families in London with terrifying hidden powers. Joan is half monster, and what's more, her summer crush Nick isn't just a cute boy, he's hiding a secret as well. A secret that places Joan in terrible danger. When the monsters of London are attacked, Joan is forced on the run with the ruthless Aaron Oliver, heir to a monster family who are sworn enemies of her own. Joan is drawn deeper into a world that simmers with hostilities, alliances, and secrets, and her rare and dangerous power means she is being hunted. She'll have to embrace her own monstrousness if she is to save herself and her family, because in this story, she is not the hero. Doesn't that sound great? Yeah, I'm just excited for that one. Then we have The Serpent and the Wings of Night. This is the first book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. This is being traditionally published, so when I saw this on the bookshelves, I just decided to pick it up because it was taken off Kindle Unlimited for me. But all I know about this is there's vampires. It's a fantasy romance, very political, and this is the adopted human daughter of the Nightborn vampire king. Araya carved her place in a world designed to kill her. Her only chance to become something more than prey is to enter the Kajari, a legendary tournament held by the goddess of death herself. Do I need to say any more? I don't think so, because that sounds amazing. Then we have another one, which isn't something that I'd normally pick up, but the synopsis really intrigued me, so I thought I'd pick it up and maybe fit it in into a vlog, or something where I can actually read it and review it and force myself to read out of my comfort zone a little bit. So this is the Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams. So what I'm thinking, it's more of a, yes, so it's a historical literary fiction. So this is about, in 1901, the word bondmaid was discovered, missing from the Oxford English Dictionary. This is the story of the girl who stole it. Motherless and and curious, Esme spends her childhood in the scriptorium, a garden shed in Oxford, where her father and a team of lexicographers are gathering words from the very first Oxford English Dictionary. Esme's place is beneath the sorting table, unseen and unheard. One day she sees a slip containing the word bondmaid floated to the floor, unclaimed. Esme seizes the word and hides it in an old wooden trunk that belongs to her friend Lizzie, a young servant in the big house. Esme begins to collect other words from the scriptorium that are misplaced, discarded, or have been neglected by the dictionary men. They help her make sense of the world. Over time, Esme realizes that some words are considered more important than others, and that words and meanings relating to women's experiences often go unrecorded. She begins to collect words for another dictionary, the Dictionary of Lost Words. That sounds really good. I'm not a big historical fiction reader, but this sounds really interesting because it's to do with words and women's rights and women feminism, and I'm really, really intrigued by this one. The next one that I picked up was on clearance at Whipco's, and I've heard some great things about this, but this is Anatomy of Love Story by Dana Schwartz, and this is set in the 1800s. It is set in Edinburgh, and we are following Hazel and Jack. Hazel wants to be a lady surgeon, and she gets kicked out of her class, but makes a deal with her professor that if she can pass the test at the end of the year without going to classes, he will allow her into the next year. And she needs to figure out how she's going to do this, and she comes across Jack, and he is a resurrection man. Basically, he digs up buried bodies, and they team up together, and she is getting him to dig up bodies for her so she can learn everything about forensic science and become a surgeon. And I think that there's a bigger plot that happens within this story. I know everyone has loved this story, and I'm really, really excited to get to it. The next one is one that I've seen quite a bit talked about last year, and it said it broke people's hearts and made people cry, and this is You've Reached Sam. So this is by Justin Tao. So this is a YA contemporary, I think, maybe a little bit magical realism, but we're following 70-year-old Julie. So 17-year-old Julie Clark has her future all planned out, move out of her small town with her boyfriend Sam, attend college in the city, and spend spend the summer in Japan, and then Sam dies and everything changes. Heartbroken, Jules skips his funeral, throws out his belongings and tries everything to forget him, but a message Sam left behind in her yearbook forces memories to return. Desperate to hear him one more time, Julie calls Sam's cell phone to listen to his voicemail recording, and Sam picks up the phone. The connection is temporary, but hearing Sam's voice makes Julie fall for him all over again. With each call, it becomes harder to let him go. So I've heard that this is really sad. It explores a lot of grief, explores so much about letting go, what it means to say goodbye, and I've heard that it makes people sob. And I don't know if I'm actually looking forward to that. The next one is The City of Nightmares by Rebecca Schaeffer. All I know about this is we're a world where your nightmares actually come to life and you actually end up turning into a nightmare. And the first line on the synopsis just intrigued me. I didn't even read the rest of the synopsis, but it said, ever since her sister became a man-eating spider and started her way through town, 19-year-old Tess has been terrified. Doesn't that sound amazing? I think it does, and I am excited to read this whenever I get to it. The next one, which is a hugely anticipated book, and I know everyone has been reading this and sobbing and loving this book, and I am scared. But this is House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J Maas. Now, I don't know the synopsis for this one. I don't want to look at the back because I'm avoiding it, because I still haven't read book 2. But I wanted this book for the opportunity to read it. So my goal is to actually catch up on this series. So I'll be rereading House of Earth and Blood, then reading House of Sky and Breath, and then going to this one. And it's a chonker. I want to avoid the synopsis because I don't want to spoil myself for book 2. I have no idea what happens in book 2. But yeah, if you don't know what Crescent City is about, we're following Bryce Quinlan. She is a party girl, and something drastic happens where she needs to investigate these murders that are happening when they thought that the murderer is in prison, and the murders start happening again. So she has to investigate with fallen angel Hunt Atlar, and it's their sort of story of them exploring and trying to figure out what the hell's happening, where these murders are, who the murderer is, and also their relationship and growing sexual tension between them. And it was great. I had a great time with it. I read it many years ago, and I still haven't picked up book 2 because I've heard some not great things about book 2, but we're getting over that. We're going to read it this year at some point. Then we have Hollowpox by Jessica Townsend. This is book 3 in the Morrigan Crow series. The first one is The Trials of Morrigan Crow, and this is where we're following Morrigan Crow. She is a cursed child, and that means on the day of her 11th birthday, she is cursed to die. Everyone in this town, I think it's her 11th birthday, maybe it's the 12th, 13th, I'm not sure, but everyone in this town blames everything bad that happens to Morrigan, everything that happens in the town on Morrigan, because she is the cursed child. And we follow her as she gets swooped up by this very eccentric Jupiter North and gets brought to Nevermore, where she gets swept up and taken to Nevermore, where she learns all about magic. This is the middle grade series, and I highly recommend this if you haven't started this series. But this is book 3, and I'm really excited to get to book 3 and catch up on the series before the next book is released. Then we have Spice Road by Maya Abraham. I haven't really heard a lot about this, but this is a YA fantasy, I'm pretty sure, and it is about spice magic. So in the hidden desert of Kalia, secret spice magic awakens the affinities of those who drank the Mizra tea. With her affinity for iron, 17-year-old Manny can wield a dagger like no other, and for that she has gained a reputation as the greatest shield, battling jinn, ghouls, and other monsters spreading across the sands. But ever since her brother was discovered stealing the nation's coveted spice, the telltale sign of magical obsession, and disappeared into the deadly forbidden wastes, Manny's reputation has been in tatters. Despite Aethir's betrayal, there isn't a day that goes by that she doesn't grieve him. Then Imani discovers signs her brother may be alive and spreading their nation's magic to outsiders. Desperate to find him and to protect him, she joins the mission sent to hunt him down. It sounds really good, and I I'm looking forward to it. Then the last physical book that I have before I go into a couple of more ebooks that I've recently bought, we have The Adventures of Mina El-Sarafi by Shanna Chakraborty, and we're following Amina El-Sarafi. She is a retired pirate, and she gets pulled into one last job for an old employer of hers, and we just follow her adventures being a pirate and doing this task that she has been paid to do. That's all I know about it. Then we have Bagging the Blue Liner by Sienna Trapp. So this is about Hannah and Cal. This is a contemporary romance where we're following Hannah. She is the daughter's coach of the Connecticut Comets, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, and she is on a mission to go against her father's wishes and find her a hockey husband. Even though her father has warned all of his team that none of them better touch his daughters, basically. But Hannah is on a mission to turn that around because no one tells her what to do, and it's their story of them coming together and getting into a relationship, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, it sounds pretty good. Then we have The Salvation, which is book 4 of Her Monstrous Boys series by Emily Shore. I've talked about this series a lot, but we're following a girl named Quintessa. She ends up going through the veil and ending up in the monster realm, where she meets 4 monstrous boys, and each book is her love story with each of the boys. So the first one we're with Drago, the second one we're with Cayenne, then we've got Mace in book 3, and now we're following the vampire Merrick, and I'm really excited because Merrick is a bit of a sadist, enjoys inflicting pain, and I'm excited to read it. Then we have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I've heard great things about this. I don't really know a lot about it, but what I know is this girl moves in, I think her name's Clementine, moves into her aunt's house after her aunt passes away because her aunt has given it to her in her inheritance. And one day she comes home from work and there is a man in her house, and this man tells her that her aunt has told him that he can stay there for the summer or something. But what she figures out is that the guy that's in her house is from 7 years in the past. So she's falling in love with a guy from 7 years in the past, and then whatever happens, they go their separate ways, and then they meet again in the present time, and he's a different person. So it's showing that it's their love story, basically, and that's all I know about it. Then we have another series that I've heard so many things about. We have Flock by Kate Stewart, the Ravenhood series. I've got all of their books, so I got book 1, 2, and 3. It was an indie published book, but I think it got picked up by a traditional publisher, and it is very popular. I know this is going crazy over TikTok and stuff, but I don't know what this is about, but it was cheap and I bought it. So Can You Keep a Secret? I grew up sick. Let me clarify. I grew up believing that real love stories include a martyr or a damned great sacrifice to be worthy. Because of that, I believed it, because I made myself believe it, and I bred the most masochistic of romantic hearts, which resulted in my illness. When I lived a story in my own twisted fairy tale, it was unbeknownst to me at the time that I was young and naive. I gave in to temptation and fed the beating beast, which grew thirstier with every slash, every strike, every blow. Triple Falls wasn't at all what it seemed, nor were the men that swept me under their wing, but in order to keep them, I had to be in on their secrets that cost us everything to keep. That's the novelty of fiction versus reality. You can't relive your own love story, because by the time you realize you're living it, it's over. At least that was the case for me, and the men I trusted my foolish heart to. Looking back, I'm convinced I willed my story into existence due to my illness, and all were punished. That synopsis tells me nothing. I have no idea what that said. But anyway, it's a very popular series. That's all I know. We have Flock, Exodus, and The Finish Line, so book 1, 2, and 3. And I know that these books have also made people like sob. So I'm interested. So the next book that I want to talk about is Bright Young Women. So this is a novel inspired by the real Ted Bundy murders and his final massacre that happened in the college of Tallahassee, I'm pretty sure, Florida. So there's a really big synopsis here, but we're following different women. So we're following A Bright Young Woman is a story about two women from opposite sides of the country who become sisters in their fervent pursuit of the truth. It proposes a new narrative inspired by evidence that's been glossed over for decades in favor of more sellable headlines. That the so-called brilliant and charismatic serial killer from Seattle was far more average than the countless books, movies, and primetime specials have led us to believe. And that was the women whose lives he cut short who were the exceptional ones. So this is taking a twist on the glamorization of serial killers. And I am a big fan of true crime, and not because I'm obsessed with serial killers, but because I like getting into the mind and understanding, and also seeing ways that I can keep myself safe. And this is taking a spin on that and telling the story of the women and making sure that the women are the priority in this story and not the man who killed them, which I think is great. Then we have A La Folie by Nova Cain. So this is a dark romance horror novella that's set at the circus or the carnival. And I spoke about it a little bit in my March TBR, but I got this as an ARC and I'm very appreciative. But this is about Indy. It's about Indy Connor stared at my demons in the eye and smiled. She fell for everything I hoped she'd fear, and now she's making me feel things I don't want to feel. Obsession, passion, hope, and something new and even more dangerous. Love. Lux Julius is everything I shouldn't want. Everyone warned me about him, but where others see a monster they condemn, I see a lost and misunderstood soul. The more he pushes me away, the harder I'll fight. I won't stop until his demons become mine. So it's short, it's sweet, it's not sweet, it's going to be dark, and I'm excited for it. I've been really into my dark romance lately and I'm having a great time with it. Then the next one that we have is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This is another really popular one that I've heard everyone talk about. So we're following a Dr. Brianna. She her life is seriously flatlining. She's just getting divorced. Her brother is running out of time to find a kidney donor, and the promotion that she wants has just been given to some other man. She is furious about this, but then they end up coming together, and I think it is their relationship from what I know. And that's all I know, and I've heard really great things about it. And the last one is The Last Word by Taylor Adams. From what I know about this is about an author who an influencer or someone who writes reviews on books ends up giving them a really bad review, and the author decides to take it upon himself to try and get this person to change the review or remove it, and she's like, hell no I don't. And then strange things start happening, and then she starts believing that the author is actually coming back for revenge. I've heard everyone loves this, and I'm really excited. Even though I am here reviewing books and talking about books that maybe an author will come and try and kill me, which is kind of scary to think about. And that is it for my book haul from January and February. Have you read any of these books? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more content from me. Bye.